The clip you are about to see is both blood-chilling and disturbing. It shows a bear encounter where staying calm doesn't work. The video starts with hunter Blake Barnett's team attempting to scare off a dangerously close black bear. From the very start, though, it seems obvious that the animal has no intention of leaving. Unfortunately, all the movement only makes the bear even angrier as it proceeds to attempt the unthinkable.
Hey, bear.
At the very last second, one of the brave hunters managed to land a warning shot to the left of the bear, immediately scaring it back into the woods. Somewhere in rural Russia, a man sitting at the top of a tree was visited by a huge brown bear that seemed to be looking for lunch. The video starts off with a blood-chilling view of a gigantic bear standing right below the man's feet, seemingly trying to find a way up the ladder.
А? Не, нормально, я стою на ветке. Ну, давай на лестницу встану, на которой ты стоишь тоже.
After being yelled at multiple times, the predator finally decides to climb down the ladder and hang around the bottom of the tree for a few minutes.
Мансур! Мансур! Поросенок. Погуляй пока, дай мне закрепить тебе.
However, just as things seem to have finally calmed down, the bear unfortunately changes its mind.
Зачем ты ее поднимаешь? Да не нужно ее ближе к стволу ставить. Мне неудобно. Мансур, хорош ломать.
Towards the end of the video, the predator can be seen trying to shake the ladder in an attempt to make his potential meal fall down. Sadly, the video ends there, and what happens next remains a mystery. A rural road in Finland, this shocking encounter between a dog and an aggressive black bear led to unfortunate circumstances. After spotting the beast on the side of the road, the residents parked their cars in order to observe the vicious animal from closer. Things quickly go south when someone's curious dog decides to get involved.
Hey!
After chasing it back into the woods, what happens to the dog next sadly remains unanswered. In West Colorado, an unarmed hiker had an intense standoff with a very protective mother bear that escalated rather quickly. After spotting the two cubs in a tree, he immediately begins recording in order to explain what's going on.
There's two more cubs, 20 yards away. And the sow just charged up here, but she couldn't see me.
Fearing for his safety, he starts throwing rocks at the mother bear, but unfortunately doesn't get the reaction he expected.
Hey! Hey! Hey! Back up! Back up! I'm gonna spray you, Mama. I'm gonna spray you.
Now in panic mode, he begins carefully walking back up the mountain in hopes to avoid another confrontation. He thankfully gets back on the trail and tries to process what just happened. If you ever plan on hunting, this next terrifying black bear encounter will most likely make you rethink your decision. On an average hunting day, a man is surprised to see a random black figure slowly approaching him from a few hundred feet away. As the animal comes closer, the man quickly realizes that it's a black bear and immediately yells after it to stay away.
Get out of here. Get.
Judging by what happens next, this obviously doesn't work out too well.
Get out of here.
After its failed charge, the beast thankfully gives up on its hope for dinner and walks away. In Whistler, British Columbia, 3 young women had an interesting reaction to coming face to face with a black bear. Initially, the animal can be seen from across the street, attempting to open a garage door, but is thankfully unsuccessful. The bear explores the area a little more when 3 women unfortunately begin obliviously walking down the nearby alley. What they do next will most likely shock you.
Oh no! No!
Oh.
They're taking pictures! Look how close they're going!
Surprisingly not interested in this free meal, the beast runs to hide behind a gate, and the women simply walk on like nothing happened at all. This terrifying video starts off with 2 hunters in a tree stand who had just spotted a black bear below them and quickly started recording. Moments later, the predator becomes overly curious and tries to climb up their tree, prompting them to prepare for the worst. Cautious and afraid of the black bear getting close to them, the man recording decides that he has no other choice but to pull out his bear spray and do this. After getting sprayed in the face, the animal can finally be seen running away from those hunters' tree, going as far as possible. At Miette Hot Springs, a hungry black bear was seen rummaging through an outdoor trash can when a local tourist tried his luck at passing by it. Watch and find out what happened to him. At the beginning of the video, the bear seems to be minding its own business and peacefully enjoying the leftovers found in the trash can. Eventually, though, a tourist tries to calmly walk past the animal, but things don't play out as he'd hoped. After having the scare of his life, the man quickly backs off and is even told by other tourists to leave completely, but decides to ignore them.
Back away. Back away slowly. Get away from there. Back away slowly. Keep going. You're too close.
Thankfully, nobody is hurt during the encounter, and the bear got to enjoy the rest of its meal. This man in Alaska has an unimaginable encounter with a huge bear. Just keep watching to see what happens next. At the very start of the video, the fisherman points out a grizzly bear lurking just a few yards behind him.
Well, I don't know if you can see this, but right there is a grizzly bear. Freaking grizzly bear. Eating some salmon.
As the predator keeps getting closer and closer, the brave fisherman tries to scare it away by splashing his fishing rod in the water and letting out a few screams.
Hey! Hey! Hey, bear! Hey! Hey! Hey, bear! Hey! Hey!
However, the man's behavior has no effect on the animal as it proceeds to steal his bag containing many valuable items.
Hey! Bear!
Alright, that bear just stole my bag!
Hey, bear! Hey!
After a few rather nerve-wracking minutes, the grizzly bear luckily gives up chewing on the man's bag and starts walking towards the further end of the river. In the Alaskan wilderness, these two hikers were faced with a very dangerous situation when a young and curious bear started following them around. Watch to see how things play out. At first, the men start recording immediately, as the predator can be seen lurking just a few feet away from them while they do their best to calm it down.
Go on, bear. Go on, bear. Go on, bear.
For many minutes, the beast follows the hikers around as they try to avoid becoming its next meal. However, the animal continues to intimidate them by showing off its size.
Just keep walking. Go on, bear.
Eventually, the hikers and the bear manage to end up just a few feet apart, and the men brace themselves for the worst-case scenario. Although risky, the hikers decide to turn their backs to the animal and walk away as fast as they can as the video comes to an end. This petrifying clip starts off with a man recording his snowmobile riding session in a snowy forest in the mountains. However, his supposedly relaxing snowmobile session quickly fell apart after he met an unexpected visitor waiting for him on top of the mountain. Upon seeing the huge bear staring right at him, the rider hastily swerves in another direction and starts speeding away just in case. Thankfully, he managed to dodge the danger in time and continued his ride like normal. On an early morning in Tennessee, these locals had a sudden visit from a curious black bear that unfortunately didn't quite turn out as expected. Before anything, the man recording bravely walks out onto his front porch in order to hopefully scare the intrusive animal away.
Camera. Back up. Go. Rah. Rah. Yo. Rah.
What he's doing, luckily, seems to work, as the bear starts slowly backing off towards his driveway when this happens.
Yeah. Ah. Ha. Ha. Ha. Ha. Hey, get back in.
Obviously not wanting a physical confrontation with the animal, he quickly runs back to his house to grab a pan and begins making loud banging sounds.
Get out of here.
Finally, the predator seems to get the message and ends up running off into the woods. In a forest in Turkey, a group of brave men unexpectedly came across a trapped but aggressive brown bear and decided that they would attempt the unthinkable. After spotting the animal at the bottom of the hill, they quickly realize that it appears to have one of its paws unfortunately tied to a tree. Already with a plan in mind, they prepare a tranquilizer dart and begin to carefully walk down the hill in order to get a closer look. Now, just a few feet away from the animal, they finally decide to put their tranquilizer dart to use in order to execute their plan. After a few minutes of waiting, the bear finally falls into a deep state of sleep, and the men thankfully manage to get a clear look of the issue.
Şuraya kepçeyle kadar.
İnşallah kırmamışsın. Tıktığı için Çıktım hadi.
Ben şimdi
With the bear now free from the trap, they attempt to heal its injuries as best they can and proceed to leave it alone to rest. In Whistler, British Columbia, Cody Clark and his friends were on an exciting mountain bike ride when they experienced something that would make anyone faint in fear. While pedaling down a muddy trail, Cody's friends immediately alert him of the danger after seeing two bear cubs hiding up in the trees around them.
Bear. Trees. Ah! One right there. Shit, where's mom bear? Holy go. Dude, where's the mom?
Right away, Cody panics and begins looking around for the mom. He unfortunately ends up spotting her just to the right of the trail. Fearing for his life, he quickly gets back to pedaling down the trail as fast as he possibly can.
Bears! Mom's coming! Connor! Look where mom is!
While alerting the others to the danger, he keeps looking behind him to make sure he isn't being followed. Finally, he manages to get back with his group, and they simply continue on their ride like nothing happened. In Alberta, Canada, two men had their bow hunting trip completely ruined when a few black bears decided that they were due for a meal. The video picks up as one of the predators can be seen suspiciously staring at the men from a tree branch directly below them.
Get out of here. Get.
After a few extremely tense minutes, a second bear unfortunately decides to join the scene, and this is where things take a truly horrifying turn. Luckily for them, the predators thankfully decide to surrender their meal and run away from the area completely. Recorded in Russia, this animal encounter shows a tourist trying to get closer to a young brown bear they had just encountered. Thinking that it wasn't that dangerous, the tourist stupidly turns his back, which gives the bear the opportunity to do this. Thankfully, the predator does not reach him in time, and they drive away quickly. On a nice day in New Jersey, this brave woman noticed a curious black bear lurking near her house, and unfortunately got a little too close to it. She starts off the video by unsuspectingly showing the bear eating some acorns on the ground just a few feet away from her.
This is a black bear in front of my house eating acorns. Great acorn crop this year.
Eventually, though, the animal starts feeling uncomfortable about having her around and decides to do this.
How timid these animals really are. See, that was a bluff charge. Bears get killed over this, and they always stop.
Wanting to capture some good content for her video, she begins trying to provoke the predator into bluff charging her once again.
Are you going to bluff charge me again and show people what a bluff charge is? That is saying, stay away from me. There he goes. That is a bluff charge. No, you go.
After further explaining the reason behind the bear's bluff charges, the woman eventually feels like she's seen enough and attempts to chase the animal away.
Go! Go! Go! Go! Go! Go!
Finally, she decides to leave the predator alone and walk back to her house. In Katmai National Park, three friends had a truly horrifying encounter with a huge grizzly bear that took a seriously unexpected turn. After spotting the beast from down the trail, the three friends quickly regroup in order to hopefully grab some nice photos of it. They immediately regret their decision after realizing that the menacing bear is now walking right in their direction.
Just get back. Let's get back.
Out of fear for their safety, they begin to carefully walk backwards away from the beast.
Let's back up.
Hi there.
Hey, guy.
Once satisfied with their distance from the animal, they simply stand there in hopes that it will move on and walk back into the woods. That's until the woman spots something else behind them.
Oh, one behind us too.
Okay.
We're okay.
Oh my goodness.
Now surrounded by 2 man-eaters, they immediately regroup once again and wait for the beasts to hopefully leave the area. After a few minutes, the bear up ahead finally walks back into the forest, which allows them to safely continue on their path. In a small village in British Columbia, 2 women had an unexpected encounter with a black bear that took a truly horrific turn. As they're walking down the sidewalk, they spot the predator crossing the road up ahead. Curious to see what it's up to, they attempt to follow it around the village. Little did they know, they were about to experience something very traumatizing. While running for her life, the woman recording unfortunately falls down and hurts her leg. And unfortunately, the recording cuts here, and her fate still remains unknown. Captured in Alaska, this short clip begins with a tourist recording a huge grizzly bear approaching them during one of their expeditions. Moments later, the bear gets close enough for the group to see its large body and sharp claws, which scares them even more.
Hey, bear. Here, come with me.
Oh.
You get behind me. Hey, bear. Hey.
Despite the already terrifying situation that the group is in, it suddenly becomes more frightening after the predator does this.
Get on out of here. Fine.
Thankfully, the bear does not come closer to the group and leaves after a while. In Vancouver, British Columbia, 3 friends had their fun mountain bike ride quickly turn into a nightmare when they were chased by a relentless black bear. After spotting the animal approaching them from a distance, they quickly decide to pedal away out of fear for their safety.
Is he coming this way? Yeah, he's walking right there. He's running. Yep.
They look behind them a few times and are shocked to see that they are now being pursued by the bear.
You got a bear chasing us? I think I'm scared to look back. Yeah, he is. Go.
Seriously fearing for their lives, they continue to pedal away as fast as they can in hopes to eventually lose the predator. After a few tense minutes, they decide to take a quick break in order to see if the bear is still around.
So we're all just gonna stand up and put our bikes up in front of us? Yeah. That's here. Oh. Okay, go. No. I know we all stand and put our bikes up. We gotta stay together.
This time, though, they attempt to scare the bear away by screaming and throwing rocks in its direction.
Hey! I don't want one. I see him still.
Hey! Down here, bear!
No, not still there.
It luckily seems to work, as the animal briefly disappears back into the forest. The men grab this opportunity and slowly begin walking away while keeping an eye out for the predator. Just a few minutes later, though, they unfortunately spot the bear behind them once again.
Oh, I don't see a big black mass.
No. Hey, yes, he's coming.
Oh, we're gonna pedal?
Alright, we gonna pedal or no? If you just say stop, stop.
Eventually, feeling like it's the safer solution, they get off their bikes and continue on the trail by foot, all while staying as close together as possible. Even after looking back many times, they never see the beast again and finally decide to call it a day. In Katmai National Park, an enjoyable expedition unexpectedly turned into a nightmare when a huge mother bear, accompanied by her 2 cubs, decided to pay these unarmed tourists a visit. At first, they begin filming after spotting the bear family, unfortunately heading towards them from the shoreline to their right.
Guys, let's move down this way just real slowly, as far as you can. We just want to give her some room to go by.
All the tourists continue to remain frozen in fear as the completely fearless bears now begin dangerously walking right past them.
There's a mama and 2 cubs very close to it.
Luckily, they didn't feel threatened by the humans and simply decided to walk on, leaving everyone there completely speechless. While exploring a forest in northern Alberta, 2 hunters encountered something extremely terrifying, and what they were about to experience would make an ordinary person panic. The video begins as the hunters get to observe an intense bear fight happening in real time right below their tree stand. However, after things finally seem to be calming down, one of the bears appears to be smelling the men's can of tuna and proceeds to do this. Unbelievably, the men remain calm and silent, even as the predator keeps slowly climbing up the ladder and getting closer to them by the second. The intense encounter finally comes to an end as the bear decides to climb down the ladder and join its friend. At Fish Creek in Alaska, YouTuber Kelly Neitlinger was on a peaceful hike when some local fishermen felt a little too comfortable around a fearless black bear. After spotting the animal from down the trail, 2 of the men, very bravely, decide to walk towards it in hopes of scaring it off.
No, Juno.
The bear temporarily hides in some bushes before walking right back out to engage in an intense stare-down with the men. No violence is needed until the beast begins walking in their direction.
No bear. Juno, no bear.
Thankfully not too angry about getting rocks thrown at it, the animal spares them and runs back into the forest. In British Columbia, 2 friends brought their lovely dog on an exciting mountain bike ride when the unimaginable happened. Not expecting much to go wrong, both men seem to be having a great time on the trail while their dog happily follows them around and stays right by their side. Unfortunately, things quickly turn for the worse.
Wow! Oh, big bear! Oh. Carver! Hey! Oh, it's a big mama, eh?
Likely terrified by the dog, the black bear refuses to get down from the tree, and the men decide to go on with their ride while they still can. National parks are popular destinations for tourists, but they are also home to some of the most dangerous predators. In the beginning of the clip, a large grizzly bear can be seen walking in circles in the road as multiple park rangers attempt to drive it away. The grizzly eventually makes its way back into the bushes, yet it does not walk away completely and instead stays near the road. Remaining a threat, the park rangers fire warning shots at the animal, hoping that the sound will scare it further into the trees. Failing to scare the predator by using loud sounds, the park rangers ultimately decide to take drastic measures, leading to this happening. The bear gets hit by hazing shots, which leads it to run further into the trees, making the rangers' method successful. Thankfully, they are able to drive the bear away, leaving no one harmed. What would you do if you and your friends encountered two adolescent grizzly bears in the middle of nowhere? This question was unfortunately presented to a group of hikers in Alaska when they encountered these two fearless brown bears.
Hey, chill. We chill. Yep. Yeah. Back off. Yeah, I know we're close, but we're not that close, man. We're not gonna be friends.
Although frightened by the predators, the friends surprisingly appear to stay calm, even cracking jokes during the encounter.
Yeah, we know you run this place. Yeah. Yeah, this is some real Alaska stuff right here. Yeah, I know. It's really cool, but also like kind of really not cool. Yeah.
Just in case, though, the men still try to back away calmly, while the bears keep acting as though they're smelling something tasty nearby.
They're just curious.
Yeah, 100%. I'm alright with it so far.
Yeah. You guys are good? Alright. You guys start talking once they leave.
Luckily, both animals eventually lose interest in the men and simply turn around and keep walking down the trail. While camping in Alaska, two men from the Boreal Stories YouTube channel had a sudden visit from a huge grizzly bear that didn't quite turn out as planned. As the beast walks out from the forest up ahead, both men stand there in utter shock and disbelief of what they're seeing.
He's still like there.
Unfortunately for them, though, the curious animal decides to fiddle around their camp and begins chewing on one of the men's expensive shoes.
Don't videotape. No, you piece of shit. He's like playing with it. What a.
After many frustrating minutes, the bear thankfully moves along, and the men finally get their chance to go check up on the damages.
The shoe, on the other hand, has seen better days. Big chunk out of the heel. He likes the rubber, I guess.
They simply pick up the leftover pieces and go on with their day like nothing happened. In Grand Teton, Wyoming, a peaceful hike quickly turned into a nightmare when a scary mother bear crossed a heavily tourist-occupied area with her two little cubs. YouTuber Thomas Boudin and his friends were having a great time on their hike and weren't expecting much to happen at all. All of that quickly changed after they met some tourists who claimed to have seen bears roaming around the area.
What did you see?
It's a black bear, but it was brown.
Okay.
Brown bear and two cubs.
Thankfully, the nearby park rangers got alerted of the danger and immediately acted upon it to prevent anything terrible from happening. In hopes of capturing some interesting footage, Thomas even attempts to follow one of the park rangers into the forest.
Is it safe to follow you or not?
No! Good Lord, no!
Eventually, the mother bear and her two little cubs walk out of the woods while the terrified tourists quickly spread out. Luckily, they didn't feel threatened by the humans and simply decided to walk on and swim across the river. In Alberta, Canada, two completely unarmed men were sure they were about to be eaten alive when they were horrifyingly chased down by a very curious black bear. This chilling clip starts off as the animal comes running out of the tree line up ahead, seemingly curious to grab a closer look of the two men. Most likely expecting it to simply stand there and look at them, they both calmly start walking backwards in an attempt to leave the area.
Hey, back. Stay. That's it. That's as far as you're going. Stop. Stop. Right now, stop.
Despite it being outnumbered, the beast immediately begins following the men as they continue to make their way back to the trail. Being completely unarmed, they both try to keep an eye out for large rocks on the ground that they could use as weapons if things were to go south.
It'll be your part from now, okay?
Okay, great.
Yeah?
Look around for a rock. What are you saying? If he hits, I gotta hit him in the head. Back. Back.
All while continuing to follow the men around, the beast jumps onto a few trees and seems to get distracted by its environment, which gives them some hope that it might move on and leave them alone eventually.
Atta boy. Show us how you do it. Good boy. Good boy. Oh, thanks. That's cool, buddy boy. You just keep doing that. That's it, boy. Stay away from me, though.
Finally, as the animal keeps on playing around with surrounding trees, the men decide to make a run for it as their car is now only about a few hundred feet away. After what must have been the most terrifying run of their lives, both men thankfully make it back to their car in time and sit there in utter shock of what just occurred.